Jay here, Stretford, Paddock. This is the Paper Talk. As you can see, I'm live. I'm in my kitchen. So get involved in all the chat in the comments. Going to be talking about all the latest Manchester United news here from not so sunny Salford. Loads of stories to get through this morning. Mainly, the main one is about Andre Onana, because we've had an update from yesterday, I think it was, from Fabrizio Romano, who broke the story. And then we've had one or two others sort of sharing it as well, saying that basically Andre Onana looks set to be going to Trabzonspor. So I'll get into that. Also, a little bit of a Baleba update. There's a bit of conflicting reports going around yesterday. And I think there was some sort of misleading reports as well from websites. You know, them like websites you get on Twitter or whatever, where it looks like it's a Sky Sports Twitter account, and actually it's not. And I think a few people have ran with that and said, oh, you know, Baleba deals happening in January and all that, which that is certainly not. It might be the case, but certainly not based on those reports. So we'll get into that as well. So before we do, make sure you are hitting that like, share, and subscribe button. Ferraro Play says, good morning, even. Gordon, that's not the right word. Good morning from Not So Sunny Zurich. AV the Don says, Kitchen Man. Alex says, morning all. Croxy says, morning, Jay. Great shine this morning. Thank you. I have buffed it up special. JB says, morning, Jay. How's your Sunday? It's all right, man. I'm going to go for a run in a bit. And this morning I've just been trawling through the stories and this, that, and the other, and seeing what's going on in the wonderful world of Manchester United. Right, should we talk about what Romano said then with the Andre Onana situation? So I think it's his pinned tweet. Yeah, it is. So it says, breaking, Trabzonspor reached verbal agreement with United to sign Onana on loan, club-to-club agreement in place, and final decision now to Onana. It's only up to the goalkeeper. So it's all on Andre Onana. Now, get involved in the chat in the comments and let me know what you think. I think the vast majority of Manchester United fans I speak to, I interact with, want Onana gone. I think there's in fact, I'll be honest with you, I'm struggling to find anyone who thinks he should stay. You might be that person. Let me know. There might be some people out there that go, look, let's just hold our horses here. We've brought in Le Mans. He's not kicked a ball or put a glove on for Manchester United yet. Bayern Day is still a liability. Let's not be too hasty. However, I don't see many of those people or many people suggesting that. I'm certainly not suggesting that. I think Andre Onana is done at Manchester United. I understand the idea that Le Mans might not come in and hit the ground running. I understand the fact that Bayern Day, there's still some question marks there, shall we say. Let's be honest with you. His performances this season have been a little bit ropey, to say the least. However, with all that being said, as you know I love saying, I still don't think Andre Onana is a decent option for Manchester United. And I think if he can go to Trabzonspor, which is a big club in Turkey, he should take it, and Manchester United should take it as well. BMW Racing 1974 says, only one of my mates wants Onana to stay, and he's a Scouser. There you go. I think rival fans would probably be like, yeah, keep him. Adrian Barca says, no buy option in the loan. Happy says, great to see you, bro. Much love and respect. Same to you. Ian Gage says, great news. He must go. Omar Jet says, morning, Jay. I see that Joe's shiny oil is working wonders on your head. And Mohammed Ishmael says, I thought we wanted United to be ruthless. I mean, yeah, a lot of us did. We said United need to be ruthless. And let's be honest, Ruben Amorim has been pretty ruthless since he's come in. We've seen the likes of Garnacho, Rashford, Sancho, Antony gone. And then you look at someone like, for example, Rashford, he was sort of surplus to requirements very early when it was obvious he wasn't doing what the manager wanted him to do. So we've seen that ruthless streak from Ruben Amorim. There's no denying it. Even this season with the goalkeeping situation, Onana, there's rumours that he upset Amorim with wanting new contracts after we didn't make the Champions League or something like that. But whatever the reason was, Onana wasn't his first choice, and he made that pretty clear with his team selections in the league. Onana obviously only playing against Grimsby Town, and let's be honest, he didn't exactly cover himself in glory there. So United are being ruthless. Amorim's been pretty ruthless, and if you are going to be ruthless, a player that's going into his third season, who hasn't really done what you want him to do, then yeah, I don't really see how you can keep him on and argue that you're being ruthless. Look at someone like Rasmus Højlund, for example. He was going into his third season off the back of a poor one. He's gone. The sort of the exception to that rule, if you can call it a rule, would be Mason Mount. But I think Mason Mount could argue that the only reason he's not truly shone at United is injuries. He's not had the opportunity to have a decent run in the side. And certainly this season, I think he's been pretty impressive. So Andre Onana and Rasmus Højlund and players that are entering their third season who are now deemed suitable to requirements can't say they haven't had a chance, can't say it's injuries. If you say, well, I haven't been fit, that's why I've not been able to do what I should be doing for Manchester United. Fair enough, but those players have played a lot of football matches. Mason Mount hasn't. That's why I think there's a difference. Get involved in the chat. Let me know what you think. There's a lot of talk about Rashford here. JB says, Rashford failing at Barca is like the United fan base can finally say, see, it's not the club. The lad just doesn't want it, but thinks he deserves it. I take no comfort if Marcus Rashford fails at Barcelona because, for starters, if you want to sell him, don't you need him to do well at Barcelona? If he doesn't do well at Barcelona, I presume he's going to come back. Would he not come back next summer? And is that just going to be a headache for everyone? If you've got a player there that's failed at Barcelona, he's still on massive money, still on a contract at Manchester United, the manager doesn't want him, what happens there? See, Ryan Oliver says, we don't want Rashford back, do we? No, I don't think we do. And I like Marcus Rashford. I'm someone who's defended him, but I think he needs to move on. And I think that deal needs to be a permanent move eventually. So I want him to do well at Barcelona. And also, I don't hold any ill will to Marcus Rashford, to be honest with you. My MU Fact says, dead right about Rashford J. Would love to see him do well somewhere. Yeah, let him do well, get some money in for him and reinvest that money elsewhere. I think that's the best scenario for Manchester United. I always think, what is the best thing that can happen for United? The best thing that can happen for United is Marcus Rashford moves on permanently and we get that money and we spend it elsewhere to improve the current team or the current squad. Maybe that money could go towards someone like Carlos Baleba. I don't know. Omar Jet says, Jay, I feel a whole Sancho situation may happen with Rashford where they pay the rest of the loan fee to return him back to us. It could do if he doesn't start doing the business. I think he's been criticised, hasn't he, by Hansi Flick, who sort of said he needs to step up his game a little bit. I know he's obviously back in the England squad. He played against Andorra yesterday, but that doesn't mean much, to be honest with you, in terms of his club career and in terms of what's going on at Barcelona. Now, to be fair, it is still early days. I think he's only played about 3 games, so he's got plenty of time to turn it around. But Barcelona isn't the sort of forgiving place where you're given months and months to sort your head out. They expect good things and big things from Marcus Rashford. He's coming out with all this fanfare, this reputation. He's still got a good reputation on the continent. They expect him to do well. And if he isn't doing well for a club that has aspirations of winning the major honours, Hansi Flick isn't just going to keep throwing him in. There isn't a sentimental issue here where, well, look what he's done in the past for the club, which should always be the argument with Marcus Rashford at Manchester United. But Marcus Rashford at Barcelona is coming in there with a clean slate. That's a positive and it's a negative. So there isn't any baggage with you, but there's also no nostalgia with you. That makes sense. You have to deliver. And so far, he hasn't. But I want him to. And I want him to get that move permanent. And I want him to move on. Let me know what you think. Italy might be the place for Rashi, says BMW rating 1974. Stephen Maguire says street parties in Manchester that Onana is going. Morning Jay just left the gym in Stretford. Let's go Sunday. It says John Kind. Mohammed Ishmael says Rashford lost his head. Red Devil United says Onana has no future at United, so a move is for the best. Jed91 says Rashford went from Classford to Trashford, down to him. Only Rashford can blame himself. AV the Don says, I think these reports are reactionary or overblown. Give it more time. I hear that. Yeah, let me know what you think about the whole Rashford situation. Let me know what you think about Onana as well, because it looks as though he could go to Trabzonspor. Is anyone concerned that Andre Onana, and I don't often say this, but I think this is true, are they concerned that he's going to say, no, I'm going to stay and fight for my place? Because he might look in, he might go, don't really fancy Turkey. Bayern Days not exactly covered himself in glory. And Lamons is unproven at United anyway. There's a pathway back to the first team from here if I just crack on in training and wait for them to flatter to deceive. I don't know. Does anyone worry about that or see that happening? Or does everyone think he's got to go? Because you've always got to look as well at the human element with transfers. Sometimes we forget that, Sometimes when we're talking about transfers, we don't consider the human element. And what I mean by that is we don't consider the fact that these players have lives, these players have families, these players have sort of preferences in which country they want to live in, which league they want to play football in. They might not want to move to Turkey. He might not fancy it. He might not want to go to Trabzonspor. I'm not saying he won't. I'm just saying that is a consideration that he, for whatever reason, he might just not fancy that move. And if he doesn't, then what? He's out of options, though, Andre Onana, because it's only, I think, the Belgian league, the Saudi league, and the Turkish league that are still open. The transfer windows are still open. So if he doesn't go to Trabzonspor, unless another Turkish club comes in that he does fancy, or a Saudi club, I think it's Belgium, a Belgian team comes in, then where is he going? I don't know. Let me know what you think. Do you think that plays on his mind? Or do you think he might just say to himself, look, I'll sit here and take my money and just trade. I don't have to go anywhere. I'm on decent dough. I could probably still get in the Cameroon squad if I'm not playing week out. Could he? Could he think like that? He might do. He might think I'm still sort of good enough to get in that team. Let me know what you think. Red Devil United says Onana might not want to move, but if it's clear he has no future at United, he's run out of options. Real recognises Real says I can see him turning it down. Let me know what you think. Aaron says the worry with Onana he's our only experienced keeper. Lamans is a complete unknown. So there you go. There's one sort of argument to keeping Onana, if you can call it a big argument. Omar Jet says, I have a feeling Onana will want to stay, considering he's asked for a pay rise not too long ago. He clearly feels he's invaluable at United. Kevin Rees says another loan for Rashford is possible, but United will probably still have to pay half his wages. Charles Hobbs says, when Onana signed, I thought Cool and the gang, let's go dancing, or Joanna would make great chance. Sorry, I get it. Yeah. Sorry, I thought Cool and the gang, let's go dancing, or Joanna would make great chance. Yeah. Onana, it's just not happened for him. Jay and Joe's adopted son, Benjamin, says, I'll have O'Shea in goal over Onana. Ryan Oliver says, agree. Might be worth keeping, as it might be a little early or a little too early for Le Mans. Mahadin Shakan says, Onana leaving is huge for us. The number of times he's lost us games, and that has affected our confidence, is insane. Yeah, listen, I understand that. I get that he's not exactly covered himself in glory, has he? And if you look at that first season in the Champions League, I think he cost us Champions League participation in the group stages. He was absolutely shocking. Did okay-ish in the league. And then obviously it was that first season, wasn't it? Yeah, the first season where we won the FA Cup. Had a bit of a one in the final, didn't he, with that Doku goal. I'm not going to lie to you. I kind of blame him for that. But on the whole, it was an okay season, the second season. We needed to see this season what it was about. However, we haven't seen this season because it's pretty obvious that that United and it's pretty obvious, that Ruben Amorim just doesn't fancy him. It's obvious that. I just want to get into the Baleba story here, because there's a few sort of conflicting reports around Baleba. I mentioned this earlier. Sorry. Just getting a message through there. Yeah, conflicting reports around Baleba about him coming to Manchester United. I think there's a bit of mischief making on the front of certain people on social media, saying that United are in for him in January. But when I scratch beneath the surface, there doesn't seem to be anything in that. I think Romano yesterday was saying, no surprise that United decided not to invest on any other midfielder this summer. The idea of United remains Carlos Baleba in 2026. So it looks like it's still going to be Carlos Baleba in 2026. United not going for anyone this summer because the focus is on Baleba, and also Manchester United also Romano also saying that United are very happy with the enthusiasm of Baleba in opening the doors, even without European football. He's a name approved of everyone. So it looks like Baleba to United is on, but it certainly doesn't look like it's going to happen in January, as some people have suggested. I think, sorry, I was just looking at some messages I was getting through there. I think the feeling here is that he'll come next summer, and that United are focused on him next summer. Can United survive, if survive is the right word, without bringing in Carlos Baleba this summer? Well, certainly not going to get him this summer. That's been and gone. Can we survive this season? Do we need to go for him again in January? Could that be an option? Maybe, but the stories and reports on that don't seem to be very reliable. The people reporting that we're going in for Carlos Baleba in January, I've scratched beneath the surface. I don't see anyone credible saying that. I don't think it's going to happen. So I think that the common thinking is that we're going to go for him again in the summer. We'll have to wait and see what happens on that. I just want to go back a little bit on the Marcus Rashford story, because a few people have mentioned it in the chat. I've had a few messages about that, and there's talk that there's a few reports this morning on the fact that Thomas Tuchel has sort of said that he didn't quite live up to expectations, I think is the headline here. So on the quotes from Thomas Tuchel, Rashford against Andorra, says, for me, he's clearly a left winger. That's where we played him today. He had the freedom to get a bit more inside, to play not only against the fifth defender, but in the back five, but to play maybe more against the third. I think the right side was a bit more active and found the positions better. So I think he suffered from that today. He had an excellent training week, and it was obvious that we want him to start because he trained so well on the left side. I can see that he tries. This is, for me, the most important, that he stays positive and he trains at the moment with the right attitude, with a smile. He struggles a bit with numbers, with that wow performance in an England shirt. So it's not exactly a ringing endorsement of Marcus Rashford there, lacking the wow performance. There's also a few other reports that Barcelona could already send him back from Barcelona, obviously. Barcelona sending back from anywhere else. But we'll have to wait and see with that. It feels a little bit premature, that one. He does have to up his game, though, I think. Marcus Rashford, both for England and Barcelona. Don't think he set the world alight there in his England return, according to Thomas Tuchel. I watched a little bit of the game, but I'm not that keen on England, and I was a bit bored, to be honest with you. I think I watched the first half, and it was all a bit boring, so I turned it over and watched something else. But yeah, Marcus Rashford there. I'm in a little bit of a struggle in terms of what's happening with him at Barcelona and what's happening with him for England. Charles Hobbs says, I thought Rashford bottled a 50-50 in the first half. Omar Jet says, Jay, you give me some serious goalkeeper vibes. Maybe you can compete with Heaton for that third goalkeeper place. I'm not a goalkeeper. Witterbird says, Jay, do you have sympathy for Rashford? I have had sympathy with him in the past, but I think now it's up to him to step up. There's no excuses now. You've got a big move to Barcelona after an okay spell at Villa as well. It wasn't an amazing spell. And he's got to move to Barcelona, one of the biggest clubs in the world. And if you can't take that, if for whatever reason you cannot grasp that opportunity, then I don't have much sympathy with you. I'm sorry. I just don't. I think Marcus Rashford has been given an amazing chance here, going to one of the biggest clubs in the world. I've been to the Camp Nou. It's a fantastic stadium. The Barca fans are as passionate as any fans in the world. And he's got a good manager in Hansi Flick. He's got good teammates like Lamine Yamal and all the rest of it. There's no excuses for me. Marcus Rashford should be stepping up and delivering. But I'll leave it there. Listen, we'll be back tomorrow outside Old Trafford with the news. So make sure, if you're not doing so already, you are hitting like, share, and subscribing to the channel. We're past the 820,000 subscriber mark. So big thank you to all you wonderful people who've subscribed. Tomorrow, of course, we've got the Paddock podcast. Also, as well, next week, we've got the small matter of the Manchester derby. So we're going to be looking at that as well. Hopefully, Manchester United can surprise a few people and get a result at the Etihad. Who knows? Stranger things have happened. Anyway, I'm going to leave it there. My name's Jay Moyer. My name's Jay Moyer. I've been Jay Moyer. This has been a Paper Talk from a pretty cloudy, sunny Salford. Thank you. Thanks for watching.